What's up, guys? Today, we're not going to be doing a usual TLDR. It's going to be a little bit more serious, but I always think it's something worth talking about, and I think it's something that I think needs to be discussed openly. So essentially, we're talking about Andrew Callaghan. He's a YouTuber who created a channel called All Gas No Breaks. It'd be shocking if you didn't know what that is. Then later started another channel after issues with money and investors. But there's been a lot of allegations against Andrew Callaghan, which is really sad to hear because I've watched him for a very long time. But the video that he's put out as a response to the allegations and everything like that, from what little I've seen, has been really good. So I thought I'd sit down. We could watch it right now in its entirety and kind of break down what he's saying and have a little bit at the end. So come on this kind of sad journey.
All right. I never thought I'd make a video like this, but I think there's an important conversation to be had, and I just want to be fully accountable, honest, and transparent with all of you guys. So I'd like to start by thanking every single person who's came out in the past week to speak about different ways in which my behavior has made them feel uncomfortable or pressured during a sexual situation, and to people who said that I've made unwanted advances and had a hard time with rejection. I'm sure this was not easy to do. It's never easy to speak out, and it was hard for me to hear as well, because to be honest with you, up until this point, I didn't even really realize that I had this pattern that had
Right off the bat, I kind of appreciate that he's definitely come forth and apologized, and he's recognized that people have come forward, and he's also talking about how he may not have realized the way that he acted. I think this is a really big conversation. It's a good start to it, and I think it's a good way of preambling the video as a whole. But it is the best. Like at the start, I think it's a good way to start it. I'm not going to be talking about whether or not is he pretending to be honest? Oh shit, is he just doing this to save his career? We're not going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about the response video itself. But I think it is a good start to it, and I think it's a good way to open up the video for potential conversation.
affected multiple people. I'd also like to apologize for my silence. I think that when this stuff first came out, I was in a state of denial and shock. I was, just riding the high from my movie that just came out, and then within 48 hours, I was denounced by my closest collaborators, and my name was printed in 40 different news outlets next to the words sexual misconduct, and I just kind of spiraled into a mental health crisis. I'm okay now, but I don't really think this is about me. This is about the people that I've affected. So I just want to express my complete sympathy, respect, and support for anyone who I've done wrong by. And I really want to do better and be.
It's really good because he's kind of stated that this is everything to lead up to it, and that he's clarified his point and his involvement. But then he's also said that obviously it isn't about him; it's about the victims and the way that he has decided to conduct himself, which is a good way to kind of take that truth, take that reality, and then kind of go from there. So I mean, so far, minute 23, I would say he's not said much as far as the circumstances and whatnot, but overall, I think he's, kind of taking it on the chin quite well.
Fully accountable for everything that I've done. So that being said, I want to make a few things clear. I've always taken no for an answer. As far as consent, I've never overstepped that line.
Which is, okay, so I'm going to say that part is strange, right? Because if he's having any allegations, I'm not sure about the particulars of them. I feel like there's a lot of scenarios that could be considered not be enthusiastic consent. There are a lot of questions people ask, a lot of men ask, what is enthusiastic consent? Is it just a simple yes and whatnot? And I think if you're needing to ask the question, what is enthusiastic consent, then you need to speak with somebody else, because I couldn't be anything but a dickhead about it. But enthusiastic consent to me is an overbearing yes, an excitement, and both parties being sober. Whether or not he feels like he hasn't ever gone across that line is another thing, because he may have and not known it, but I can definitely see that he's also wanting to try and say that he feels like he hasn't before. Necessarily not the truth, but, fair point.
But, I think I want to have a more nuanced and important conversation about power dynamics, pressure, and coercion. because, like I said, I think for a long time I was behaving in a way that I actually thought was normal. I thought that, you know, going home from the bar alone made you a loser. I thought that persistence was a form of flattery. And I thought that, if at first somebody was reluctant, they're playing hard to get, just try harder. And if you think someone's feeling you, make a physical advance and see if they go with it.
And that's just like a serious point that I want to stop on there is that we're at this stage, and it's a very old way of thinking, and I think it's changing, but I feel like there is very early Gen Z and like a lot of millennials, my generation, I think there is a lot of like really poorly conceived process of thought about the way that you advance or you connect with another person. I think there is a lot of times where it was believed that if a woman turns you down, well, you just keep chasing them. Or hey, if she's not into it, then you've just got to prove your value or prove that you are worthy or something along those lines. And I think that perception is definitely something that is, like I said, it's disappearing. But I also think that it is still very much there from boomers, from millennials, and even a little bit of Gen Z. But that awareness is increasing, and a lot of people would call it, and with a lot of negativity or spite in their voice, they would call it being woke. But it's not being woke. It's about being aware of the other person and consent and not allowing social situations and social structures to kind of muddy the waters of what is clearly a yes and a no or a good or a bad scenario.
And I think that, especially, I realized when so many young people, especially young men, rushed to defend me when this stuff first started coming out, that this type of sex pest behavior is normalized. And a lot of people think this stuff is normal when I don't think that it is.
100%.
I want to be fully responsible for not having a fluid understanding of consent and what enthusiastic two-way consent looks like.
Yep.
That being said, a lot of the things that have been said online about me are not true. A lot of things are missing really important contextual information that I think would change people's interpretation of a lot of these situations. But I'm not here to invalidate anybody's lived experience. If you feel pressured,
I don't agree with the way that he's responded there, because I think it is invalidating, even if he's not aware that it is. But saying, there's context, and there's context to a lot of things. And I think the problem is that people take one side or the other no matter what. And I think, obviously, if people have trauma or had an experience, a negative experience, anything along those lines, absolutely should be taken very seriously. But I think he's also kind of invalidating it by saying he's not invalidating it, but saying context and things that aren't true, it does invalidate. It absolutely invalidates experiences. So I don't know if I really agree with what he's saying there personally, but I mean, yeah.
That's just what it is. I hope that young people and young men in particular can use my mistakes to learn and move through life with a better understanding of consent. As far as what I have planned, I'm not really sure what comes next. I mean, obviously, reporting is my one true love, and I'm 25 years old, and I have my whole life ahead of me. But I really think that I need to do some serious work on myself and figure myself out. So I'm going to start therapy sessions pretty much immediately. Also, not to blame alcohol, but I truly believe that alcohol was a contributing factor to my poor decision making. And I think that alcohol in general has had a devastating impact on my life. So
I would agree with that. I think I think a lot of people look at it as make an excuse or a cop out to the actual scenario. But to me, I drink very rarely, and when I drink in portion. And unless you're a friend and you know that, like, once or twice a year I hit it a bit hard, but I hit it a bit hard, and I've never had any issues. And personally, for me, I'm a very happy drunk, and I'm also just it to me. I'm not a person who's really ever been. I was never brought up like that, and I think that it is a raising thing, right? I think it is a very much like how you nature versus nurture, and I think nurture wins as far as this kind of stuff goes. Social pressure, and he's not wrong. Alcohol can definitely definitely intensify what is already a poor decision process with being way too forward or not being aware of other people's enthusiastic yes or enthusiastic go fuck yourself. But I think alcohol in general is normalized, and it is to me, and I'll side argument this, right, and I'm very much a person who says totally okay with the legalization of marijuana, but to me, I believe that alcohol is one of the most dangerous drugs of our time, of all time. And I think that alcohol is way too normalized, especially in Australian culture. In Australia, alcohol is just like normal all the time. So many people just like their literal hobby is to just get drunk. So that's a bit of a side note from me, but I do think that he's not copping out by saying that.
I think I'm going to make the decision to join the 12-step program for Alcoholics Anonymous. And during this journey into sobriety, I want to take a serious step back from public life and, like I said, figure myself out. Um, and I hope that this reaches the ears of anyone who's felt affected by me. I'd love to reach out to you, or you can reach out to me, even just for me to say, I'm sorry, and I really apologize, and I appreciate you all. I also want to apologize to my closest collaborators, my friends, my family, and people who will have to wear this stain on their career forever. You guys don't deserve this, and I love you guys. Uh, that being said, if you never want to watch Channel 5 again, I understand. I hope you remember the missions of radical empathy and media literacy that we have tried to put into the world through our coverage. All right, that's all I want to say.
So overall, I think it's pretty good. We can't say whether or not what he's gonna do is gonna make a difference to his behavior, whether or not he's being honest, any of these things, right? And I don't want to assume the good or the bad, but I think the real perception to be the real thing to take away from this entire scenario is that he's done something wrong. He's clarified his mistake, and he's clarified that he's hurt people. Not a huge fan of him being very I don't want to take away from lived experiences, but then absolutely plays down lived experiences. So, but overall, I think it's a good video. I'm disappointed, but to be really honest, I think this day and age, you can never be too surprised when you find out that somebody has acted like him, or that somebody has some sort of secret along those lines that is this. So that's my real takeaway, is that don't try no, is that people make mistakes, and grievous as they are, and yeah, so I think it's not too bad. I don't really have much else on it, boys, but yeah, I thought I'd do a video about this because I think it's a really important discussion to have, and I appreciate you watching. Anyway, I'll talk to you later. Bye.